Welcome to episode 269 of the Jordan B.Peterson podcast. I'm Michaela Peterson. In this episode, Dad spoke with Frans de Waal, a Dutch primatologist and ethologist. Throughout his career, de Waal has published numerous books about the complexity of animal behavior. His latest book, Different, published in 2022, looks at sex differences in humans, chimpanzees, and bonobos. Dad was really excited to chat with Frans de Waal because he's had a great influence on his thought. Together, the two of them discussed the instinct for reciprocal cooperation, the necessity of play, reconciliation, how we mismeasure animals, and more. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, everyone. I am really thrilled, even more than usual, because I'm usually thrilled with my guests, to be talking to Dr. Frans de Waal. Dr. de Waal is a Dutch-American biologist and primatologist known for his work on the behavior and social intelligence of our closest biological relatives. He is C.H. Candler Professor Emeritus at Emory University and Distinguished Professor Emeritus at Utrecht University. His scientific work has been published in hundreds of technical articles in journals such as Science, Nature, Scientific American, and outlets specialized in animal behavior. And I should point out that generally speaking, in a scientist's career, even a single publication in a journal such as Science or Nature can be the pinnacle of a career, and to do that multiple times is pretty rare. And so Dr. de Waal is a scientist who's in many ways in a league of his own. His popular books, translated into more than 20 languages, have made him one of the world's most visible primatologists and scientists, I would say. His latest two books of many, and I'll mention some others, are Mama's Last Hug, Norton, 2019, and Different, Gender Through the Eyes of a Primatologist, which was published by Norton in 2022. He's been elected to the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, as well as the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences. In 2007, Time declared him one of the world's 100 most influential people today. Now, I would also say that I'm particularly thrilled to be talking to Dr. de Waal because his work has had a real influence on my thought. Now, I'm not so sure how happy he might be about that, but he is one of the world's deepest thinkers on a variety of important issues, perhaps most importantly, on the biological basis of morality, the development of morality, and his work on the development of the moral sentiments, you might say, in chimpanzees and moral behavior, and his analysis of hierarchical behavior in chimpanzees and bonobos is, I think, revolutionary, not only biologically, but also philosophically, and that's something he has delved into. I would say equally that's the case for his work on play and his work on gender. De Waal is one of the few people who have made a really solid case for a specifically sophisticated view of the construction, let's say, of hierarchies in primates, which are often pilloried, say, with regards to chimpanzees, as predicated on something like brute force and power. And the fact that de Waal has indicated quite clearly that that is a insufficient, to say the least, view of the complexity of such hierarchical organization is work of tremendous importance, partly because it allows for the union in some real sense of is and ought, because that's an old philosophical conundrum. Can we derive an ought from an is? And the answer to that is not in any simple way, but the fact does remain that there are elements of social organization in our closest primate relatives that do shine some light on the biological foundations of ethics itself. His work on peacemaking among primates is also signally important in my estimation. I've read about 7 of his books. Peacemaking Among Primates, I thought that was a great book. That was 1989. Chimpanzee Cultures, which he edited with Richard Wrangham, who's another guest on my show, another great primatologist. Good Natured, The Origins of Right and Wrong in Humans and Other Animals, another great book. Bonobo, The Forgotten Ape, an analysis of another very close relative of ours, biologically speaking, genetically speaking, but a chimp subtype in some sense, or an ape subtype, that organizes its social community quite differently than chimpanzees. He wrote Mama's Last Hug, as I mentioned before, Animal Emotions and What They Tell Us About Ourselves. Are we smart enough to know how smart animals are, which is another great book, and most recently, Different, Gender Through the Eyes of a Primatologist. I would highly recommend to all of those who are watching and listening that you pick up any or all of Dr. DeWall's books. They're very straightforward. They're easy to read. They're deep. They're well grounded in multi-dimensional, in the scientific literature in a multi-dimensional manner. I think he's one of the world's most important psychologists, even though that's not his primary field. His books are a delight to read, and he certainly influenced my thinking more than anyone else, with the exception of a handful of people like Jaak Panksepp, who's done great work on similar grounds with rats in the realm of biology. So I'm so thrilled to have you on today. So thanks for a quick gushing, and we'll get to it.
You're welcome. Thanks for all the praise.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't praise, man. It's the truth. Your work has been of unbelievable interest to me, especially on the front of the development of morality. So maybe do you want to start with just maybe a little bit of bio and just tell everyone what you do, where and how you develop what you do? You said, for example, that you were influenced by Nico Tinbergen, and maybe we could just go through the whole ethology background and make it personal, and then we'll get down to brass tacks after that.
Well, Nico Tinbergen was a Dutch ethologist. Ethologists are biologists who study behavior of animals, mostly naturalistic behavior. So that was a big difference with Skinner, let's say, in the psychology, who put rats in a box and let them press levers. The ethologists wanted to have natural behavior that they looked at. And Tinbergen was a Dutchman. I'm a Dutchman. I'm from the same school, basically, even though I'm not a direct student of his. And I was trained to observe animals. That's mostly in the beginning of my career. That's what I did. I observed animals, observed chimpanzees, bonobos, other animals. And then later, when I moved to the US in the 1980s, I moved first to Wisconsin and worked with monkeys there. And then I moved to Emory 10 years later. I started to do experiments, behavioral experiments, not invasive studies, just a chimp would come out of a group into a room and do something on a touch screen or with a tool or whatever the experiment was. And so later I started to do more experimental approaches and got interested in very different behaviors, such as reconciliation after fights,